Hello students, welcome to today's lesson. Students, today we will discuss about urbanization. First, let us define what is urban. Urban is defined as relating or belongs to town or city. Urban centers are a settlement where the majority of the population is engaged in non-agricultural activity. Urbanization refers to an increasing in the proportion of people living in town and city. It is a major aspect of social economic changes. When we see African urbanization, Africa is the least urbanized of all the continents in the world because most of the people of Africa lives in rural area. When compared to the other region of the world, the continent has least number of urban population. On average, it is only 38 people live in urban area. Due to the existence very high rate of rural urban migration and high fertility in the urban area, the continent has the world's highest rate of urbanization. So, urbanization shows great regional variation in Africa. As a result of existing very high rate of rural urban migration and high fertility in the urban area, the continent has the world's highest rate of urbanization. So 5.4% per year the rate of urbanization in Africa. So urbanization rate in Africa is very high. And also furthermore, the continent is characterized by low level of urbanization. Because most of the people of Africa live in a rural area. As we have seen in the above, 38% of the African population live in rural area, but in urban area, fertility rate is very high and also rural urban migration is very high. So urbanization rate in Africa, it is very high, it reaches 5.4% per year. The living condition, social service, housing condition, and transport and communication facility are very low in the urban area of the continent in Africa. Not only in Africa, the developing country living condition, social service, housing condition, transport, and communication facility are very low in the urban area of developing country. So when you see the Africa, the continent lists number of urban dwellers and also urban center. Africa continent has the world's least number of urban dwellers and urban center. Let us see this table. These are regions of Africa. When we see percentage of urban population in Africa, Sub-Sahara, only 35% of the population of Sub-Sahara Africa live in an urban area. North Africa, 50% of the population of Northern Africa live in urban. 42% of the Western Africa population live in urban area. In East Africa, fertility rate is very high, as we have seen in the previous session, and only 22% of the East African people live in urban area. So East Africa, least economically developed region of Africa. Central Africa, 41% of the population of Central Africa live in urban area, and 56% of the South African people live in urban area. In general, 38% of the population of Africa live in urban area. So rapid urbanization causing several challenges in Africa. It creates problem on employment opportunity, housing condition, and also provision of social service such as education and health service, social security in the urban area. So rapid urbanization in Africa creates many problems. Some examples are listed here. Rapid urbanization in Africa is also affected rural economy. This is due to the high rural-urban migration that takes the rural labor force out to the urban area, leaving the farm in the rural areas for the child and oldest. In addition, it has also facilitated the expansion of social evil and prostitute and the like in urban area. So urbanization is increased in both developed and developing countries. Cities in most developing countries are encircled by many problems. Let us see the problems. As we have seen in the above, urban center of the developing country encircled by different problems. For example, poor sanitation, poverty, environmental degradation, urban slum, unemployment, social evils. All these problems happened in urban center of developing country, for example, in Africa. The current urban challenges are absence of employment opportunity, unreliable food security, shortage of water, scarcity of shelter are the current urban challenges. The other, inadequate provision of social service, inefficient waste disposal, inadequate transport and communication facilities are the main problems that happen in urban center. Let us see global urbanization trend. During 1950, the urban population of the world reached 30%. By 2007, it reached 50%. This concludes that the population number living in urban area increased from time to time. Projected urban share of global population in 2030, it reached 60%. Look this chart. This shows population in billion. This year shows the population number in urban area in each year between 1950 up to 2030. So from this graph, we conclude that the population number in urban area increased from time to time. From this data, we conclude that the population number live in urban area increased from time to time. Between 2007 and 2030, the world population expected to increase by 1.8 billion. Almost all population growth during this period will be in urban areas. But the rural population will actually decrease by about 20 million because the rural population decreased because of migration. In developing country, people migrate continuously from rural area to urban area. So the rural population will actually decrease by about 20 million. Let us see growth of rural versus urban population. Process advanced in developed nation where 76% live in urban area in 2000 and will increase to 83% by 2030. Only 40% of those in developing countries lived in urban area in 2000, increasing to 56% by 2030. So rural-urban migration and urban fertility is very high. So the number of people living in urban areas, especially in developing country, it is very high. As we have seen in the above, it increased from time to time. Developing country, urban population will be double in 29 years. When we see fertility in Africa, Africa has high fertility rate, so it has short doubling time. The doubling time of Africa, it is 29 years. From this migration from rural to urban is very high, and in urban area of Africa, fertility rate is very high, so urbanization rate in Africa very high. In contrast, the rural population of the developing region is expected to increase very slowly, as just 0.02% per year during the same period, because the people migrate from rural to urban area. In developed countries, the average annual rate of urban growth was only 0.83% between 1975 and 2000. So the rate is projected to fall to 0.41% during the first quarter of this century. The rural population has been declined for decades from 307 million in an anticipated 250 million in 2025, because people migrate from rural to urban areas. So the rural population decreased because of the migration. Let us see the implication for developing countries. Developing countries are less urbanized because most of the people in developing countries live in rural area, so developing countries are less urbanized. But the rate of urbanization is much higher because fertility rates in urban area of developing country, it is very high, and also rural-urban migration is very high. So in Africa, the rate of migration is much higher, not only in Africa, in developing country, rate of urbanization, it is very high. The number of people added each year continuously to rise because the rate of are applied to an ever-increasing population base. So the annual growth rate, it is 3.5% during 1975 to 2000 was applied to the 1975 urban population, 820 million. So the urban population of developing country increased from time to time because of migration. People migrate from rural to urban for searching different things, for better education, for better job opportunity, for different pupils. The developing country people migrate from rural to urban areas. So the urban population growth rates increase in Africa, also in developing countries. The 2.4% annual growth rate will be applied to a larger urban population base of 1.94 billion. So the number of persons added to the urban population in developing country indicates the challenge faced by governments, urban planners, non-government service providers, and urban residents. Despite their higher levels of urbanization, the combined number of urban population in Europe, Latin America, Oceania, the population of this, it is 1.2 billion, is smaller than the number in Asia alone. Asia alone has 1.4 billion. By 2030, as will account for 54% of the urban population of the world live in Asia. Asia is densely populated region in the world, and also in terms of population, the most populous region of the world. And in terms of size also, the first continent is Asia. This table shows population in urban area by region. In 1950, 11% of the sub-Saharan African population live in urban area. In 1975, it reached 21%. In 2000, it reached 34%. And in 2025, it will be 49%. Asia, except Japan, in 1950, it is 15%. 1975, 22% of the Asian population, except Japan, live in urban area. 35% of Asian population live in urban area in 2000. In 2025, 50% of the Asian population live in urban area. In Latin America, 41% during 1950, and in 1975, 61%. In 2000, it is 75 and 82 increase. From this table, we conclude that urban population increase from time to time. Let us see the rise of megacity. Future of today's urbanization is continuing growth of large city include megacity. When you see the number of megacities rose from just 1 in 1950 to 23 megacities in 1950, and in 1995, within 70 of them in the developing world. Look, the developing world mega cities increase from time to time. This means urban dwellers increase in developing country from time to time. By 2015, the number is projected to grow by 36. 23 of this mega city will be located in Asia. So most of the population or the settlement pattern classified based on size of population. So Asia is the most populated region of the world. So by 2015, the number is projected to grow to 36. 23 of these megacities will be located in Asia. Also, the number of large cities is increased. Much of the urban population living in a small city. In 2000, 24.8% of the world population live in urban settlement within fewer than 500,000 inhabitants. By 2050, that proportional is likely to rise to 27.1%. So what are the factors contributing to urban population growth? Urban population grows as a result of natural increase and also internal rural to urban migration, international urban migration, and also reclassification of urban boundaries to encompass formerly rural areas. These are the major factors contributing to urban population growth. In Africa, for example, natural increase accounts for 75% of urban growth compared with about 51% in Asia. In China, which has expected rapid economic growth, only 28% of the urban growth results from natural increase. But in Africa, 75% of the urban growth results in natural increase. It has high fertility in urban area. But only in China, 28% results in natural increase. So rural-urban migration, in many countries, such temporary migration are counted as rural residences. Official statistics thus tends to underestimating level of urbanization and migration actually contributed to urban growth. So rural to urban migration become a less important contributor of urban growth once the national level of urbanization is relatively high. So depend on the previous session lesson, the two important factors that affect migration are pulling and pushing factors. The pulling factors opportunity in city include high urban wage by transitional corporations, and the pushing factors poor conditions in the countryside, example fragmentation of farmlands, limited job education, and also economic opportunity. So people migrate from one place to another because of pulling and pushing factor. So rural to urban migration is a selective process. People with certain characteristics are more likely to move than people with other characteristics. One of these factors is gender, because employment opportunity vary greatly by gender. So, gender selectively in migration distort gender ratio in both destination and origins. So, gender selective of rural to urban migration may challenge over time. So, urban job opportunity for women increase or decrease relatively to the opportunity for men. So, family norms regards the migration of women change. Gender ratio difference between in urban and rural area in many parts of the world. So, distorted gender ratio have implication for public health. For example, in sub-Saharan Africa, there are many more men than women in urban areas because more jobs are available for men than female. So, the excess of male in Africa cities is considered one of driving force behind HIV/AIDS epidemic. Students, let's move to concept of economic growth and development. Let's define what is economic growth. Economic growth is an increasing in the total amount of production and wealth of a given economy. It is change in quantity. It is usually quantitative as it is related to increased production of goods and service. In general, it means quantitative change in good and service. When we say economic development, refers to the growth within structural and technological change. It includes the concept of overall transformation in the living condition of the people of the society. This one, economic development, means structural and technological change. Economic growth means quantitative change in the production of goods and service. After independence, African governments began to take development initiative to improve the standard of living of their population. Rapid population growth in the 1980s and in the 1990s retarded the development of many African economy. So different organizations discovered in Africa to improve this retarded economy. The major indicator of development are gross domestic product. Gross domestic product refers to the total value of goods and service produced in a country over a period of time. The second indicators of development is per capita income. It refers to the average amount of money that individual is expected to have as a result of state's gross national product. This is the second indicator of development. The third indicator of development is a standard of living. It is threshold of material security measured by availability of resource for an individual, family, and society. Development explained by low fertility and mortality, better health and communication, clean water, and better education. Let us see this chart. These are indicators of development. Development is the result of gross domestic product. When you say gross domestic product, high gross domestic product, more capital or wealth in the economy, more investment, more jobs, diversification of economy, high division of labor. It is results in gross domestic product. Per capita income, mean higher income per individual, more money to spend or save, capital, more investment, more employment, standard of living, better education, better health, better communication, and so on. These three results in development. Development means transformation in the overall living condition. So development is the result of these three indicators, that is GDP, per capita income, and standard of living. there is no better GDP, better per capita income, standard of living, there is no development. There is no transformation in the overall living condition. Let us see this chart. It shows the characteristics of developing and developed countries. Developing country per capita income are low and capital is scarce. But in developed country, per capita incomes are high and capital is readily available. In developing country, wealth is unevenly distributed within individual countries. Example, Colombia, it is 2.6% of population own 40% of national wealth. But in developed country, wealth is comparatively evenly distributed. For example, Canada, 10% of population own 24% of national wealth. So in developing country and in developed country, wealth in developing country unevenly distributed, but in developed country, wealth evenly distributed. So in developing country, primary industries dominated the national economy, but manufacturing and service industry dominated the national economy of the developed country. High proportion of population engaged in subsistence agriculture in developing country, but in developed country, farming is commercial, efficient, and mechanized. In developing country, population are in rural, but cities are growing rapidly. In developed country, population are urban, city growing slowly. Birth and death rates are high. Birth and death rate is low in developed country. So let us see characteristics of African economy. Economies primarily depend on the primary economic sector. Agriculture is by far the most important economic activity of the Africa. Secondary and tertiary economic sectors are less developed in this continent in Africa. Most of the manufacturing industries are cottage type. The majority of the modern manufacturing industries are light industries that focus on the production of consumer goods, and also heavy industries that could produce machineries, aircrafts, ships, and automobiles. Characteristics of African economy: intercontinental, intra-regional, and intracontinental trade is low level. Communication facility include land, air, and sea transport, also low in Africa. The various economic sectors of the continent run short of capital, skilled human power, and efficient technology. Many countries also fail to provide basic social services such as education and health. Widely spread mass poverty, illiteracy, and poor healthy conditions prevailing in many countries. Challenges of economic development in Africa: lack of capital, skilled human power, and modern technology are the major problems hampering its development. Political instability, also the other challenges of economic development of Africa. Civil war, lack of good government, and also widespread corruption, another challenges of the economic development in Africa. Rapid population growth is a challenge for Africa's development in general. Debate crisis is another serious challenge of the development in Africa. Let us see prospects of economic development in Africa. Establishment of continental, regional, and sub-regional organizations like the African Union, the former Organization of African Unity is the only continental organization. Regional and sub-regional organizations include IGAD, NEPAD, SADC, COMESA, and ECOWAS are organizations. This organization, on the sake of improving the economic development of Africa. They work to improve trade and other socio-economic integration among member states. They assist development efforts in different ways. Organizations of the United Nations like the ICA, UNESCO, UNICEF, WHO, ILO, and FAO are significant, important for Africa. Let us see the major resource of Africa. Africa is believed to be rich in terms of human and material resource. For example, the equatorial area of Africa is rich in iron ore. Northern Africa is rich in petroleum resource. West and Central Africa have huge petroleum reserves, and also metallic minerals and other stones are abundant in South Africa. So in general, Africa is rich in natural resource. Students, this is our today lesson. Thank you.